What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Hops Geek News, a podcast that talks about comic books, movies, TV shows. Typically, we feature a beer of the week. Today's episode, we're going to be a short one. We're just going to review Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, the finale to the trilogy of James Gunn's rendition of the Guardians. First things first, go ahead, follow us on Hops Geek News on any podcasting platform, any social media platform. And then, of course, if you want to support the show, patreon.com/Hops Geek News. Now, Lauren, we saw it. The movie is finally out. We've been watching the trailers. They've been showing us like how depressing and sad this is going to be. And the IMDb description for this film is still reeling from the loss of Gamora. Peter Quill rallies his team to defend the universe and one of their own, a mission that could mean the end of the Guardians if not successful. The film in its opening weekend made almost $200 million. Or actually, I lied. It made $269 million globally, which it had a budget between all the things going into it of 250. So they cleared their budget the first weekend. This movie's a hit. Absolute hit. What were your initial reactions coming out of the theater?
I absolutely loved it. I thought it was amazing. It was the most fun I've had at an MCU movie since Spider-Man No Way Home.
Oh, wow.
I was happy they didn't kill anybody. I was expecting them to kill at least one person. Like many people, I thought, oh, there goes Rocket. Oh, at first I'm like,
Oh,
I actually
yes.
thought they're not going to kill Star-Lord. Adam's going to rescue him because I kept thinking, okay, who can rescue him? You see Groot try, he fails. You see, I don't know if Cosmo tries, but you see like some of them trying. And I was like, well, I know Adam can do it. And then when he started to go cold, I go, oh, they're going to have him go out like Yondu. And then that kind of in a poetic sort of way made sense. And that would disband the team. And then they didn't. And I was so happy. And then that end line, the legendary Star-Lord will return. I got really excited.
I did too. Okay. Yes, I did too. I'm notably not big on the Guardians for whatever reason. Like, I've been indifferent towards them, but this movie really endeared me to that group of people, they're the crew, if you will. This film was, we were expecting obviously somebody to die. And I guess in a roundabout way, Rocket died. He did technically flatline. He's dead. He came back. And there were so many moments that they built up so well in this film that was like, oh, this person's going to die. Oh, this character's going to die. They didn't. But there were real stakes in this film where you were like, there was a sequence where they're in the Oglecorp, and I thought Drax.
Oh my God, I thought Drax was dead. Yeah, especially because Dave Bautista has said he's definitely not coming back. Yeah.
Right. So I was like, oh, he's dead. And you see Nathan Fillion over here like shooting him.
Oh my God, I hated Nathan Fillion for a second.
The funniest line in this movie was like, oh, he's kind of slow. It's okay. I got one of those too. And he's like, I misheard what you said. He's like, shut up.
They were really mean to Drax in this movie. I gotta say, they were really mean to him.
Like, Mantis was brutal. She was like, it's not his fault. He's stupid. You think I'm stupid? Yes, I think you're stupid. I was like, dang, man.
But then he, pulled his eye. He's like, oh, how do you know that? Or why didn't you tell us? You didn't ask. He's like, because y'all kept calling him stupid.
Yes, like it's kind of sad. Like he's very strong. He's very loving. You can tell that he cares a lot about this team, and they just treated him so poorly. And
I mean, he's not the brightest crayon in the box.
He's not. I will say that. But it was clever how they everybody's like, you're stupid, you're stupid, you're stupid. And then he communicates with the kids. And then everybody's like, wow. And they tied it back into the fact that in Guardians 1, Drax lost his family. And so they finally kind of tied that back in, which I thought was really nice because you forgot a little bit that he was a dad. And when he brings that up, it's like, oh man, his whole motivation was Thanos killing his family.
Right. He was designed to be a destroyer in the comics to seek revenge for his wife and daughter. But there was a scene in Guardians 2 that's very like heartbreaking when Mantis holds his hand and she just starts crying. And like, that's just how Drax operates 24/7, that he's just, even when he's, eating Zarg nuts and pretending he's invisible, he's still carrying around that pain with him everywhere he goes, as anybody who lost, a child would, let alone a child and a significant other. But I feel like we forget that about Drax because we're so used to having him be the butt of the joke. Yeah. So it was kind of neat, to get it to see it come full circle and to remind yourself that Drax is a dad, especially because, every parent has two lives, because every parent is going to be in some way, shape, or form different when they're not around kids. So you could meet somebody a million times, never see them around their kids, and then you see them around their kids, and it's different for obvious reasons. So you don't realize, oh shit, I know he was a dad, but I forgot he was, he's a daddy, not a daddy like Pedro Pascal.
Yeah, he is.
He's not his daddy. I'm sure he is for some people. But no, I just loved the arcs for all of them. I felt like every single character had a nice arc, and it felt like every character was done well. The High Evolutionary was fantastic.
God, you just wanted to punch him in the face so much. Like,
I wanted to rip his face off.
They finally got a villain that was just like, damn, Thanos is top tier, of course, in the MCU. And then for a lot of their villains, they're just kind of forgettable, more or less. Like, there are some memorable ones, of course, but a lot of them are throwaway villains. The High Evolutionary was
gone anywhere or going anywhere. Well, and there was comments that Yondu made to Rocket in the last movie where he goes, I know the guy who created you. So this is a guy that people do know.
Yeah. I mean, and not for nothing, Chukwudi Iwuji, he was in Peacemaker, but he played the High Evolutionary, and he knocked this role out of the park. He was the standout for me because in his mind, he's doing the right thing. He's creating the perfect society, but the way he's going about it, the animal cruelty, right? Where he's just like disposing of these animals and these beings because he's trying to create the perfect society, but they're all test subjects until Rocket comes along and he's like, I want your brain. And
the way he's like, why are you smarter than me? And it was pissing him off.
He's like, I created this. How did you know? And the way he emotes in this film is just like, he's this mad scientist that wants perfection at no matter the cost. And you see him blow up Counter Earth, and he doesn't care about any of the beings on there because he's just going to scrap it and start again. It's just, it was very, so good.
Like very comic booky too. Like a lot of that happened in the comic book.
Yeah. And I think overall, this is a very character driven film. Mm-hmm. And it was great because in the beginning, we see Chris Pratt's Peter Quill, like he's drunk again and going through it because of the whole Gamora bit. And Nebula de facto has to take charge. She's the leader at this point of the Guardians, regardless. And she even goes to apparently
I heard that was like
the 35-pound dummy. Yeah. That James Gunn kept in his office for a while.
Right.
That was
amazing that was a dummy.
Yeah. It was really well done. Like, of course, CGI and touch-ups, but like still, that's freaking amazing. Mm-hmm. And Karen Gillan's Nebula, she's kind of this a-hole as well throughout the whole movie, and everybody calls her on her crap. And so to see her character come full circle at the end to kind of become that loving, fun, dancing character we see in the final sequence, it's like, I want to see more of her in the MCU. Like, I don't want, just because this rendition of the Guardians is over, I don't want it to be done for her. Like, I feel like there's still things for her to do.
Right. I feel like a lot happened during the 5 years that we didn't get to see because, I don't feel like I'm confused by her character changing the way she did. I get it, but I do feel like a lot happened in that time. And I believe it was confirmed, though, that Rocket upgraded her arm as a thank you for Bucky's arm.
Yes. That's what her arm was awesome. Like the way it changes and everything like it was pretty badass. Mm-hmm. I also loved Cosmo a lot. It's played by Maria Bakalova. Like Cosmo, Sean Gunn's Kraglin called her a bad dog in that running. Like, called her a bad dog. Just take it back, man. You're ruining our poker game. Like, that was hilarious.
I love that he got more screen time too, because I think he's a good character, and I always felt bad for him. Like, was it the first? No, it was the second movie, I think, where he's like, they killed all my friends. Yeah. And it was so sad. And like, he never wanted to be a bad guy. He just wanted to be included in something. And I don't feel like he ever was a bad guy.
No, he was just kind of like a follower, if you will. Right. And now he gets to be in charge of nowhere for that time being and lead. And you can see that it meant something to him, and he really cared about the place and the people he's with, you know?
And he's been with Peter since they kidnapped him.
Since like day one. Yeah. He's been around with Peter since like day one. And this family, if you will, was really well done. And I think something that they did really great in this movie was there was a lot of heavy, serious, emotional moments. But after those passed, they did a really great job of uplifting you again by having these lighthearted cool down periods, if you will, where there are those periods of comedy and things like that.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so what did you think of Adam? Were you
Honestly, I thought it was not at all.
Okay.
Like, this was his introduction. He's a giant baby in the comics. People are complaining.
Right. He
that's
doesn't
how he
have
was in this.
any concept of right or wrong in the comics when he's first. Yeah, I didn't expect them to do that. I thought we were going to immediately get all powerful Adam. And there was a point in the movie where I was like, wow, they're really not utilizing him. But the story wasn't about him.
No. Well,
and I was okay with that.
Same. And I think he was a good plot device where he drove the plot, because the Sovereign, we've met them, like the Guardians wronged the Sovereign, so of course they're trying to capture the Sovereign to also save the race. Yeah, what was it?
Arbulary batteries.
Yeah, and the High Evolutionary created them, and so they're kind of like see him as a god, a deity, and so
very interesting.
It made a lot of sense that he would drive the plot. They were chasing the Guardians, and then the High Evolutionary ends up killing his mom, and so he's like, "Why did you save me?" Because the Guardians save him. And he's like, whoa, wait a second. I tried to kill you. And so for him, that was kind of that turning point. And he wasn't ever going to be a star of the movie. Like, again, this is his introduction to the MCU. So he was there as a driver, an antagonist. So I'm fine with how he was, honestly.
It's interesting in the trailer, though, they did kind of make it seem like he was going to be the primary villain. And there wasn't much focus on the High Evolutionary at all in the trailer. And so even when we did our Adam Warlock comic origin, we sprinkled in High Evolutionary because I saw that he was going to be in there. Yeah, we really didn't go into it. I think we hit the main point. So I understood who he was and what he was doing and what was going on. But I do think we are going to get a more evolved Adam, because every time Adam dies in the comics, he goes into his cocoon and then he comes out stronger and more wiser and everything.
Well, that's the other thing is, if you have him be the focal point in the movie, this movie could be over in 2 seconds because he is so overpowered.
Like having Captain Marvel at the beginning.
Right. So you can't shoehorn him in too much, because there was that really cool fight sequence where the Guardians do face off in nowhere against him, where he ultimately shoots Rocket. And it was great. Like the damage, he took damage, he delivered damage. And so that was a great sequence, but they did a really good job of not forcing him into the story more, because this wasn't a story about Adam Warlock. It wasn't a story necessarily about the High Evolutionary. This was Rocket's story. This was the story of a family that has lost so much, has gained so much, and how they all come to terms with that. And also, like, sometimes you just have to go your separate ways. So I didn't have a problem with the way it ended being, hey, Peter Quill's like, I got to go down to Earth. There's some things I got to see. Mantis was like, I've been, relying on everybody else. I need to go do my own thing. And so everybody else kind of was like, we're not breaking up, but we need to take our space and like find ourselves again, because we've lost ourselves.
I like that Mantis called Peter out, though, because I've always thought that, like, he's got family still on Earth that's probably like called the police and have been looking for him for 30.
Well, his grandpa saw him fly away in the spaceship, I thought.
Oh, did he?
I thought is either that or it was a deleted scene, but one of the two, something like that, where his grandpa knew.
But still, I mean, they would still be looking him for all these years. And I don't know what came on the news, if he showed up on the news or how long they hung out on Earth after they defeated Thanos. Like, we don't know any of that. But obviously he didn't go see his grandpa. So, but I liked that when she called him out and she's like, he lost his daughter and his grandson the same day. And then his memory of him yelling at him, and like, that wasn't necessarily true.
No. Yeah.
So, I mean, that was his little kid memory.
Yeah. A warped sense for sure.
So I saw the scene with the car beforehand, and I was like, "How the fuck does he know how to drive? He left Earth when he was 8." And then they did
get in open the fucking door. Like, that was great.
The first F-bomb of the MCU, and it wasn't Samuel L. Jackson. That's a little crazy.
Surprising.
Star-Lord of all people. Yeah.
I did love how Nebula, he's like the button below, and it's just like, because you get to that point with your kids, where like my kids are like, how do I do this? How do I do that? And then finally you're just like, open the fucking door, and it was great.
Don't you understand?
What is so hard about this?
You can't open an old car from the 80s. But they did a good job with a few things, because I know it wasn't James Gunn's idea to kill Gamora, but he obviously, worked around it and did it well. And just hearing Star-Lord even call himself out on his own fuck up in Infinity War.
He's like, I got mad
and then he's like, and I don't know why Gamora's here. I'm not what did he say? I'm not a Infinity Stone genius or professor
like,
or something.
You died, then you came back to life and all of that. So it's like, I don't know.
But she
That was
didn't. I feel like
great.
there's two Gamoras now, and it's like a branch, I would think, from the TVA.
Well,
Like the
everybody
one
kept
died
being
and the one
like
didn't.
she doesn't remember, which
It
that's
didn't
not really the
happen to her.
case. Like
She
she
didn't
died. That
forget.
Gamora is
Yeah.
dead. Yeah, she didn't forget. That part kind of bothered me a bit, I will say, because it's like she's not. The Gamora you knew is dead, man.
Right. This Gamora didn't have that last 5 years.
And so it made sense that she joined the Ravagers at the end. I'm 100% cool with that. I like that they didn't have her come around to Peter
But they
and
did
all that.
hint at it.
They did. Like there's something there. She briefly pauses and then like joins the Ravagers. So like that door's
Something
open.
there that
Although Zoe
wasn't there
Saldana said that she
before.
wants them to recast because she's not going to play Gamora again. But the
Gotta
door
be
is
hard with
open.
all the paint.
Yeah, I mean the door is open for all of these characters to return in some fashion. And before I forget, I do want to talk about I absolutely loved the hallway fight sequence that we got, that
Oh
one
my
shot.
gosh. That was amazing. And Rocket looked like he was straight out of the cover of like the Rocket Raccoon comic book. That was beautifully done. Amazingly done. Like I want to try to find that on YouTube just to watch that whole scene again.
Yeah, it was like for a CGI fight, like it's a little different when you're doing something like Daredevil because you can kind of do it more practical, but this was a lot of like CGI fight sequences and it was so well done. And one of the best hallway fight sequences that we've ever gotten in the MCU.
It probably does. Yeah, it's up there with Daredevil. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, 100%. And then another scene that I really loved was when he's basically like, I don't need this. Peter Quill's talking to the High Evolution, like, I don't need this speech from you. And then he basically distracted him and Groot pulls all of those guns out.
I
Just,
know.
that was so dope. And then Kaiju Groot. We got Kaiju Groot even.
Yeah, he is huge.
It was crazy. That was amazing. I love that sequence too.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, all of it. And the MCU is doing a great job of casting all these kids because that's the future of the MCU at this point. If they really want to keep it going, and they really are. I feel like every movie and show we've had the last few years has introduced a younger character.
Yeah, I mean, we're setting up obviously for the Young Avengers, but also like the MCU isn't going to just be over tomorrow. So we have a lot of characters who are played by older actors and actresses. Somebody's got to carry this on at some point. It's just.
I know both of them are my age. Like they all got cast in their late 20s, and now
this is the way it goes.
14 years later.
Yeah,
like I think it was Sean messaged us on like the anniversary of Iron Man, and I'm like, how the fuck is this movie? 15 years old.
15. That's what I was going to say. 20. No, stupid. 2028. But
yes, stupid.
Yeah, it was. Oh man, I love this movie. It might actually. I kind of want to watch it again because it might actually be a top 5 MCU movie for me, which is
it
crazy.
Very well could be. Yeah, I think it's definitely in the top 10. I'd have to really reevaluate and look at everything because that's hard. Because
it is. It's so there's so many movies, but this felt like kind of they closed the book officially on the Infinity Saga with this one because they kind of tied some, and now it's like, okay, we're ready to fully move on. So
yeah, I
loved it.
I would like a Disney Plus shorts of Star-Lord just telling his grandpa about his adventures
in that,
or people randomly showing up,
or
like
even
Mantis
like
showing up. I'm Star-Lord's sister.
Yeah. Or give me like this iteration of the Guardian where we see Kraglin and Cosmo and one of the little girls and Rocket like just hanging out, doing their Guardians things. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I loved it. So this movie overall, great film. Go watch it out there now. Regal Cinemas, AMC Cinemas,
if you haven't watched
Draft
it already
House.
And you listened to this, that was a terrible decision.
Obviously if you've listened to
I'm
this,
sorry. Yeah.
We loved it here. I'm gonna hopefully see it again. Lauren, any final thoughts?
No. Oh, was he okay? The I love you guys. Do you think
nope? James
that
Gunn
I love you guys?
this.
We understand him now.
James Gunn confirmed that we are now part of the family. That we understood what Groot was saying because Carrie actually said this in the theater. That she was like, I was like, wow, did he just say that? And she was like, no, I bet you it's because like we understand him now. And then it comes out the next day that James Gunn confirmed that we do actually understand what Groot's saying. So that's what that was. It wasn't him.
But the we are Groot was different.
Right. It's the fact that we understand what Groot was saying because we have been accepted into the family.
Aw.
Look at that.
Well
We're all
done,
family
James
here,
Gunn.
Vin. We're all family.
We're gonna
here.
miss you, but we can't wait to see what you do.
Our hands are his DC universe is in good hands with James Gunn at the helm. I feel like he shows love and appreciation for the things and characters that he does. I can't wait for a Superman Legacy film, which will star Crypto. actually, Crypto will be in the film. Amazing. And he's got the composer, and things are coming up pretty well. So yeah, go catch the movie. Go let us know where this ranks for you as far as MCU films go. And stay tuned for our episode coming out this coming week with Vanessa Marshall, aka the voice of Hera Syndulla on Star Wars Rebels, but she's also the voice of Gamora in the animated Guardians show. She was Mary Jane
Wonder Woman
in Spectacular Spider-Man. She was Wonder Woman. She was Black Canary. So she knows a thing or two about these. Make sure you check that episode out. Thanks for hanging out with us. Cheers.